Hi everyone. It's been a while again. I feel like I do one of these videos, it takes 1 or 2 months. But welcome to this commentated clear, or perhaps I should say clears, plural, of DoDonPachi Daioujou Black Label. So today we're doing things a little differently, since I recently cleared the game with 2 different ship types and characters on the same day, and they actually play widely differently. I thought it might be fun to sort of compare them side by side. So I first cleared the game with B-Exy on the left, which is the so-called expert ship with a stronger shot and laser, but very few bombs. And this took me a while because while I had to learn a proper route, which I didn't with the other ship, and I'll explain why in a minute. But this game, while not crazy difficult, it's still challenging, but not crazy difficult. I'd say, from what I've played, it's maybe a little easier than Esprit, but not all that much. At least not until you learn it. But it actually requires very precise routing, so I had to learn quite a bit. It took me around 30 hours to learn a good route and be able to clear the game. And so you have to learn routing. It's pretty important in this game compared to the other cave games I've played, unless you play Shotia, which is the ship I'm playing on the right screen. And she gets a strong shot, but a weak laser, which is a big downside. However, she gets a huge amount of bombs, which helps a lot and means you can make a lot of mistakes. So I'm not going to lie, my original goal was clearing with B-Exy, so I did that first, and it took me a while, so it was definitely not free. But right after clearing with Exy, I tried to do the same thing with B-Shotia, and that felt extremely easy in comparison because I had already learned a route that would not allow for too many mistakes, so just being able to use so many bombs felt really comfortable. So in terms of ship selection, I would say if you just want a quick and dirty clear, it's definitely much easier to do with Shotia. But if you want to truly learn the game and in my opinion have a bit more fun, I would say try and use Exy, at least to learn, because it forces you to engage with the level design and the mechanics a bit more. Speaking of mechanics, this game has quite a lot, because on top of your regular shot and laser, you get a bomb, you get a laser bomb like in DoDonPachi, but you also get a new hyper meter. And activating a hyper gives you some invincibility frame, and it makes your ship much stronger, but it also raises the rank, which makes bullets faster and more dense. And as far as I know, the only way to lower the rank is to bomb during a hyper, which you'll see me do a few times in these runs in order to keep the difficulty manageable. Or of course you can also die, which in this game I would say is not really what you want to be doing. Another thing that makes Exy more fun than the other 2 dull types is that she loses very little power on death, whereas Shotia, for instance, has to be a bit more careful, and she needs to make sure she uses bombs because one death can easily spiral into many more. I won't speak too much about the scoring system of this game, which has a ton of depth, but as you can probably see, I haven't learned any scoring routes since I was only focused on survival. I can tell that the push and pull system or the risk reward system is actually very well implemented, since you have to kill enemies in successions to maintain your chain or create combos, and doing so requires leaving some enemies alive, which in turn makes the game more difficult. And you also have to manage your hypermeter very carefully, which leads to a lot of dynamic variation throughout the game. It keeps the game fresh and fun, and it never really feels, even when you're grinding runs, it never really feels like the game gets boring, because in one run you may get more meter and use more hypers or use them in different sections, and that makes the game quite different because of the ranking system. So it's really fun, but you do have to engage a little with the system mechanics to really understand what makes the game special. I think this is a game you can play pretty much forever because there's always something you can optimize. And this is a really cool feeling. I do enjoy the scoring system of Katsui just a little bit more, but it's really close. And I think it's because it's more freeform and less punishing. And this game is pretty bad if you drop your chain or if you bomb in terms of score. But at the same time, I do think Daioujou's scoring system is deeper, maybe just a little bit less accessible. So it's maybe aimed towards experts a bit more. Now, what do I personally think of the game, if you couldn't already tell? Well, obviously, I think it's an absolute masterpiece. In all regards, gameplay, visuals, music, everything feels so polished. It's a hell of a game. And I also think it's a giant leap compared to DoDonPachi, which was my previous clear, incidentally. And although that game felt massive because of the influence it had on the Danmaku genre, I think this game feels a lot closer to perfection, in my opinion. So if you like shmups, not even bullet hells, if you like shmups and you haven't tried this game, you have to try it. It's definitely my top 3 and it is not third. I haven't so I've been playing on the PlayStation 4 version, PlayStation 4 of the port released by M2 late last year, and I actually have the hitbox viewer turned on so you can see the hitbox of the ship, which you can't see on the original version of the game. So speaking of the version of the game, I haven't really mentioned the details of this specific version. So this is the third game in the DoDonPachi series, and I'm actually playing the Black Label version of Daioujou. So if you don't know, this is not the initial release of the game, the initial arcade release. So after releasing Daioujou in the arcades, Cave made a new version that they pushed out onto the market 5 months ago after the initial version of the game, which is now referred to as White Label because of the title screen. And so the version I'm playing is Black Label, and in this version they've added a smaller hitbox, they've increased hyper gauge building speed, they've reworked some patterns and some sections, and they've also made the chaining system, the scoring system, a little bit more lenient. So I would say this version is definitely a bit easier than White Label, and also definitely more fun to play, at least in my opinion, both for score and survival. So if you're going to play just one, I would say make it this one, probably. It just feels a lot more fun. So I haven't even talked about the gameplay that we're looking at. This is stage 3, and now the stage 3 boss on the left with B-Exy. I'm mainly going to focus on B-Exy on the playthrough on the left because it's definitely more interesting due to the limited resources that you get. As you can see, there's only one bomb stock that you get with B-Exy, at least when it's starting out, whereas you get 3 with Shotia, and you get a whole lot more later on. This boss is actually quite scary, even when you know the patterns. There's one pattern in particular that the boss will cycle through in a few seconds. This one is actually very confusing. And on higher rank and higher bullet speeds, it gets really, really scary. So now I'm through to the final final pattern of the boss, and it's actually really dangerous if you don't have a hyper or a bomb. It's doable, but it's scary, and I end up making a bit of a silly fumble, but this is probably okay. It's a challenging boss. I don't have many bombs, and no, the interesting thing you can see is now I have gained an additional bomb stock. So I have 2 at the bottom, on the bottom left, as you can see. So far, this is not a bad run on both sides, even with Shotia on the right. I've used bombs, but I'm on max power at this point, I'm pretty sure, so this is good. Stage 4 is probably my favorite stage in the game in terms of design. So here I end up getting stuck and having to use the hyper invincibility, which is not great for scoring at this point, because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to maintain the chain. No, I won't be. But I had to use it, otherwise I would have lost a life, which would have been really bad. And I still have 2 bomb stocks. This initial section of opening section of stage 4 is not too bad. You can actually route it, but yeah, this was a bit scary, so I used a bomb here. It's definitely not worth taking too many risks early on in this game. So for sure you want to be using your resources if you want to clear, especially with X's, since you don't get many resources, you definitely don't want to waste them in any way. So this section, if you use a white shot of B ship, so you get a selection between 2 ships, A and B. A has a narrow shot but it's faster. B has a wide shot but is slower. I'm using B because I think it's probably easier, at least to manage the stages with. And if you use a wide shot here, it's actually not too bad. But the first few times you get to this section, it's really challenging at first. So this is what I mean when I say that you have to learn a proper route, because some sections you just can't wing. So yeah, here I use my hyper as well, just to be on the safe side. And it's okay to use a hyper because you get quite a lot of them in this version of the game. But at this point, ideally, I would have liked to keep the hyper for the mid-boss section, which is coming really soon, because it makes it a lot easier. So on the mid-boss section, which is this huge cannon, if you destroy the side cannon before destroying, here, and this is a pretty bad mistake. If I had a hyper, this probably wouldn't have happened. So if I didn't make that earlier mistake, it wouldn't have been as bad. So you get a hidden extend here when you kill the mid-boss by destroying the side cannons before destroying the middle cannon without a bomb. And actually on the Shotia run, you can see that I used a hyper to destroy it, and you can still get the hidden extend that way. So it's definitely better to do that. So at this point, the B-Exy run on the left is looking, it's not horrible, but definitely looking a bit dire. I'm not sure I can clear this section of the game, the railgun section. This is my favorite section in the game. It's really, really cool and dynamic and fun. At first, it's the same. At first, when you don't know what you're supposed to do, it feels impossible. But when you get used to it, it's really fun. And it's also, I think the spawn of the railguns is random, so it never really feels stale, which is really cool. This stage overall is really, really fun. The stage 4 boss is also really cool and kind of dangerous if you're not careful. So at this point with Exy on the left screen, I definitely don't want to lose a life here. I want to be super cautious. I also think I have maximum bomb stock, so I'm probably going to use one here. This pattern I dislike a little. It's a bit tricky to figure out the overlapping patterns because they have different speeds. This one is not too bad. There's still a lot of open space. You have to be a bit cautious, but this is more about positioning. This one is interesting because you have to get to the middle to try and do as much damage as possible. And then I'm going to use the strat of using a bomb here, the safe strat to beat this boss, because the final pattern gets really, really scary and dangerous, and it's not really worth it. If you just want to do a survival run, you might as well use a bomb or hyper. So I'm on similar pace for both characters. Obviously, Ex's laser does more damage than Shotia, so this is why the left run is on faster pace. So I'll probably clear the game faster on the left. So at this point, this is not looking too bad for Exy on the right, but I end up making this huge mistake, and I remember feeling very upset with myself because, making it to stage 5 with 2 lives left, I started thinking that I had the clear in the bag, and as usual, anytime I start having these thoughts in a run, that's when I end up making mistakes and losing lives. So I have to use bombs here just to try and regain my composure, because I remember feeling frustrated for sure, because that just made the run a whole lot more difficult for me, and also I probably thought at this point that I would not clear, even though it was not such a bad run before that point. So this first meat boss is the same. I had to sort of learn a route through this, and when you're used to it, it's not too bad, but early on it's a little challenging. And the funny thing is, these are actually the bosses from DoDonPachi, which was the game I cleared before playing this. That they return as the mid bosses, I guess, of the stage 5. So this part is also another very challenging part, the beehive section. You can learn the large bee spawns, and yeah, I end up making another big mistake here. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna clear. I'm probably going to have to use a bomb, yeah, just to grab the hyper. But this is really bad because I have no lives yet left, and there's quite a bit of game left to make my way through. So at this point, I don't like to give up or reset in game. So I'm playing this through, but I'm not expecting to clear for sure. The good news is there are two score extents in this game. One that you get at 20 million, and the other one you get at 50 million, and I'm getting really, really close to getting the second extent, so I'm still going to have an additional life if I manage to make it through this. And just to be on the safe side, I end up using my hyper, and yeah, I got the life. So it's still not great. At this point, I'd rather have one more life than this to make it through comfortably, but this is not completely hopeless at this point. This meat boss is really, really easy as well somehow. It's just all about positioning and learning the attacks. You have to be a bit cautious because you can get the its shots do not cancel when you kill the boss, so you can get killed by them afterwards. This is when the stage 5 this stage gets a bit strange. So second half of the stage gets really, really dense in terms of how many bullets there are. But if you've played the game enough and learned a route, then it's actually not so bad. I find it to be more consistent than the beginning part of the game. As you can see, I'm able to dodge through a lot of this. Not everything, because I definitely didn't want to take risks that close to the final boss. But it's actually not as difficult as it looks. But at first, I have to say, when I first started playing the stage, it felt a bit impossible. Kind of like Ketsui Stage 5, but way easier, I would say. So with Shotia on the right, well, at this point I don't have any bombs, so I just need to be really cautious. But, if I die, I'm gonna get another 6 bombs. So I'm definitely feeling more relaxed. Yeah, I end up dying, and as you can see, is that 6? Yeah, 6 bombs. So I'm pretty comfortable here, and I'm not stressed out about not being able to clear the game. But on the left, I'm not sure. So these are the final few enemies before the final boss, and I don't have a bomb here, so I think I'll make it through this, but I remember feeling a bit stressed out. And here you get an additional bomb. So this is definitely doable with one bomb. This is the final boss of the first loop. And of course, I'm going for a 1-0 here, not a 2-0. I'm definitely not on that level yet. So I end up using my bomb here just to be on the safe side and, to relieve some of the pressure and being able to dodge a bit more. I think I end up messing up this pattern. I'm not sure. Maybe I make it through. Yeah, I make it through. That was actually pretty nice. Here is probably where I'm going to get stuck. This pattern is not too bad, but I actually ended up touching through that line. That was, I'm gonna be honest, that was a bit lucky. So now at this point, I pretty much know I have the clear because I still have a lot of resources. Yeah, this is going to be another cycle of this attack. I end up losing the life here, which is not too bad. A bit unfortunate. I'm on my final life, but here I have one hyper and at least 2 bombs. Yeah, so it's not too bad. I'm using the hyper, using the bomb to do as much damage as possible, because the longer you wait, the longer it takes you to destroy the boss, the more difficult this attack gets. So I end up, grabbing the clear thanks to the bomb. It was still really close. I had to use all my resources, but thankfully I made it through. And at this point on the Shotia run, I still have 1 life left. And yeah, I actually did some pretty nice dodging here, so that was cool. And I have, I cleared the game with 5 stocks. And I made a lot more mistakes with Shotia than I did with B-Exy, actually. I think I lost a couple of lives with full bomb stocks, so overall definitely way easier. Anyway, we've gotten to the end of the run. I hope this was somehow enjoyable. It's my first time trying to commentate 2 runs at once, so I don't know how much of it made sense, but I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did as well. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Play this game. Cheers. Bye.